don't want to do, and what we didn't do, was make this an iPad project. That's not what it is. It's not an iPad project or a Surface Pro project. It's a teaching project. It's a teaching and learning project. It's a digital project.
Hello, I'm Charles Wiles, founder of Zish, the company behind Quizlies and Marvelly. So welcome to our series of videos and conversations with some of the UK's leading education thought leaders. Today, I'm super excited to have the opportunity to introduce Toni Hamilton. She is the Trust Digital Curriculum Advisor at the Stour Academy Trust and a Pearson Teacher of the Year Silver Award winner. Throughout her teaching career, Toni has championed the use of technology to enhance teaching and learning, focused on inclusion, accessibility, and equitable learning opportunities. As a Microsoft Innovative Educator, expert, Microsoft Master Trained, and ambassador for several technology communities, including Wakelet, TeachMate AI, and my own product Quizlies, Toni is dedicated to providing enriching engagement experiences for children. I should say that of all the people I have talked to over the last, 6-12 months in the UK on digital, Toni, you are without doubt one of the most experienced and expert and knowledgeable people I've met. So it's a real privilege to have the opportunity to share that information with the community. Yeah, I've given you that brief intro. Would you like to just tell a little bit more about your journey, how you got to where you are now, and what you're doing, and so on?
Yeah, I mean, if we start from, when I was younger, I was one of those children that always liked to take things apart and put them together. I had 7 brothers and sisters, and younger brothers and sisters, and they always used to put like biscuits in the video recorder so I couldn't watch the TV. They'd break my toys, not on purpose, but so I was always taking things apart and putting them to get back together again. So that kind of thing always excited me. And as soon as we internet became a thing, I was one of the first to have the internet, to have a computer wherever I could. So digital has always really excited me. I didn't start off as a teacher. I decided after I had the children to go back to university, and I did my primary teaching degree, and then I did a master's degree. And then I worked in a couple of schools. I was actually primarily an early years teacher for many years. And then when we moved down south, because I'm not originally from down south, I did a couple more years in early years, and then I decided I was getting a bit too old for the early years. Bending down wasn't my forte. And I moved into Key Stage 2. And it was once I moved into Key Stage 2 that we got a brand new bank of iPads in the classroom. This is like early 2011, 2012, maybe around there. Got a brand new bank of iPads, but they were always in my classroom. So wherever you needed an iPad, you just came to my classroom because they were always there, because I was starting to use things in there. And I started recognizing the benefit of things like using green screens and using book creators. And then in 2018, I joined the Stour Academy Trust as a Year 2 teacher, and within couple of weeks I was a computing lead for the trust, and then moved from the computing lead to the digital lead for the trust. When after COVID, we decided as a trust that what we didn't want to do, because we'd learned so many skills over COVID, what we didn't want to do was lose those skills and have our staff lose those skills and go back to doing exactly what we were doing before, which is that model of the Victorian classroom, class chairs and tables in lines, somebody at the front giving instructions. We wanted children to become more of part of the conversation as they were during lockdown. They were learning in different places, they were learning in different ways, and we wanted to continue that and keep up the skills we had. So we put together our vision. We did that as a trust. We have a digital strategy team, so we all put that vision together from our CEO Rachel, and then from there we use that to create what we have today. So today, we are a trust of 8 primary schools based in Kent, 3 of which are Microsoft Showcase schools, and hopefully by September or next week, all 8 will be Microsoft Showcase schools, making us a Showcase system. And I believe we may be the first with all our schools as Showcase schools in the Showcase systems. I'm not sure, though. We'll check in a couple of weeks. And we have, so what we decided to do, we have one-to-one devices in our Key Stage 1, and all our one-to-one devices in our Key Stage 2, and then in Key Stage 1 we have a bank of devices between 6 and 10, depending on the age group. So children from the age of nursery up till year 6 can use devices that we have. Children in Key Stage 2 use digital notebooking, so they will use class notebook to make all their digital notes. We say we use technology in 3 prime different ways. So the first being engagement, because technology is a very engaging tool, and if you can engage children in their learning, you've got halfway there. Experiences, a lot of our children, even though some of our children, they live very close to the beach, and may never have been to the beach in their life. So experience is something we can provide. Now, I always give the same anecdote. You know, I'm of a certain age now. I'm probably, unless I have some drastic career change right now, I'm probably never going to be able to walk through the pyramids in Egypt, or there's other things I won't be able to do. But through technology, we can give those experiences. So I can walk through the pyramids. I can look at the hieroglyphics on the walls. I can go into the different chambers and look at sarcophagus, and I can start translating those with other tools that I can find on the internet. I can start translating those hieroglyphics that are in there. So we provide experiences for children, engagement, and then obviously the equitable learning opportunities is what we're about most of all, making sure that whatever your starting point, you're able to exceed your expectations. So children knowing that wherever they come from, whatever they do, that as long as they put in a bit of hard work, they can be whatever they want and do whatever they need to.
I just got so excited when you were talking about that, because there's something that we do that you probably don't know we do. I don't think we've ever talked about it, which is, you know, we've got our blockers game, right?
Yeah.
Which is like our Minecraft inspired game. But did you know that we actually have Egyptian pyramids in there, with hieroglyphics in there, and that they're kind of hidden, and they only spawn about once every sort of 10 goes. But if the child finds it, they can go inside and they can experience inside these pyramids. And if you use blockers in creative mode, you can have the children build their own pyramids. But you probably didn't know that, did you? But it's
No, I didn't know that. No, I didn't know that.
Because I'm completely with you on that experience side of things. I mean, like, you know, we can't go and stand on the moon, but you can, right? If you're doing things in you know, if you've got a laptop or an iPad, you can go and have a virtual 360 view. You can go and enter some VR world. You can go into blockers and create a virtual moon if you want, or go really microscopic. You know, we can go inside the blood system and see what it's like inside the heart from the inside. You know, there's all sorts of amazing, engaging ways that things that technology can do that you just can't do with a book, right? You know, or a book does a very poor job of doing it. So yeah, very excited to hear about your belief in that part of things. And of course, the engagement side goes without saying, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, either it's everybody finds it engaging, but also it can be a particular career. You know, it can engage somebody to the extent that it becomes what they do. That's what happened to me as a child. I got into tech, and as you did, got into tech, and that kind of became our career. And I know you have a big collection of old computers, don't you? You were telling me about that one time we were talking. How many computers do you have?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, we haven't got a huge collection by any means. And it's just an ongoing thing. When we see something, we'll buy it. We're not going out to get it. But I've got the first Spectrum that I ever owned as a child. I've got one of them. I've got all the PlayStations, all the Xboxes. But then, the little handheld devices. We've got loads of them. Now we have also, I mean, I'm a bit of a geek as well, because we've also been collecting Funko Pops. We started off with...
Okay.
We've had quite a summer of Funko, to be honest. I mean, again, we only collect them when we see them in like car boots or second-hand shops or anything like that, charity shops.
I'm just going to grab my Fennec Shah Funko Pop. That was a present from my daughter for Christmas. Yeah, I'm a big Star Wars fan, so there you go. That's my one and only Funko Pop.
Yeah, we've got that one. But we started I initially started off with about 7, I think, and I had 7 for many years. And then when we started collecting the computers, we also started picking up the Funko Pops. Go to a car boot or charity shop. We have had quite a summer of it, and we are up to 387 now.
Oh my gosh! You can start a museum. You start a museum. We'll have to come round and have a look at it.
At the beginning of the summer, we had 170. We have kind of had a summer. So we've done a lot of traveling to different places over the summer, like different car boots, different charity shops, just collecting things on the way. But yeah, I love it. And this is one of the things we decided we were going to do. You know, when we decided about our vision and values, we thought about what do our children need and what children actually need, and what we read about. We read about the class of 2030. We read the EAF documents. You know, children that are in school now. I mean, the class of 2030 are nearly there. They're only, you know, they're only a couple of years away from actually being the class of 2030. But children in school now, especially those in nursery who are only 2 years old, in 16 years, where are we going to be? You know, we've had AI for years, but we've got generative AI that's just exploded, and it's going to make such a difference to not only everyday life, but teaching and learning, education, and it is going to have a huge impact on how we do things. But we're going to need people that can use this, that can, you know, produce it, design it, create it. We're going to be putting children into a world we don't know. I mean, the original plan was in 2030 they'll get rid of petrol and diesel cars. I don't think we're there at the moment, but if we do that, we're going to need people that can use computers more in cars and can use, you know how to deal with electric cars and how to repair electric cars. And all this is computer based or digital based. If you go to somewhere like a restaurant, you know, you order, the waiting staff take the orders on an iPad. They take, you know, it all goes through electronically. We have a heavy dependence on electronic at the moment. And if we're not teaching the children some of the skills to actually be able to not only use technology, but those 21st century skills as well. So we have a big push on 21st century skills like communication and knowledge acquisition, and, you know, ICT is just a small part of that. But it's all those 21st century skills that children are going to need when they leave school and go into the workforce. If we carry on with a Victorian model, which was based on the Industrial Revolution, we're going to be having children who aren't capable of what we need them to be capable of. We'll have a small amount of children who can function in a futuristic world, but we need to make sure that all children can function in a futuristic world, regardless of anything, any neurodiversity or
Yeah, I mean, you talk about AI exploding. I think let's come back to AI in a few minutes. But you're absolutely right. I mean, the world's going to go through a transformation over the next 3 to 5 years that has never been seen before. And I don't think most people realize just how much things are going to change over the next 3 to 5 years. It's going to be exciting and scary at the same time. But we need to be preparing all our children for all the years. This isn't a 20-year thing that's happening. This is a 3 to 5 year thing, and everything's going to change. It's very exciting. Very excited for teaching and learning, as you said. Let's come back to AI in a bit, because I really want to talk about AI. Let's just talk a little bit about digital strategies, because you've really been, as Sal, you've really been pioneers. So there was no model for you to copy, was there? You couldn't go to a playbook and say, okay, this is how it's done. Let's just copy that digital strategy. You had to invent it. So a lot of trusts still don't have digital strategies, is my understanding. Or if they do, maybe they're not very sophisticated. What if somebody was, as a trust in your position, putting together a digital strategy? What advice would you give them?
Ooh, I think it's important to have a vision of what your outcomes are. Where do you want to be? What is it you want to achieve from this? Teaching and learning is one section of that. This operations is another section of that. What is it you want to achieve, and how fast can you get there? But the biggest issue, and the people we support with their digital transformation, their biggest issue is always going to be, and still is, funding. So making sure that, yes, it's going to be difficult to organise the funding, but you can do it. So, for instance, I always say, you know, when we started this project, we planned out for the first 3 years. We'd planned out softly for the first 5 years. Well, the first 3 years were set in stone. And funding is always going to be an issue. But in that first year, we saved £120,000 just on printing costs alone. I mean, the staff, you don't need, oh gosh, let me start again. There's a lot of costs that will diminish. So one of the things we did the last 2 years is we started getting rid of softwares we don't use, so it actually can also be used in. So we got rid of a few softwares that we use and replaced it with tools we already had. So Microsoft is a great tool, and they also already have loads of stuff in there for free. If you've got Microsoft, I mean, Google will be the same. If you've got Microsoft or Google, there's going to be tools in there that will do the same jobs that you're paying several companies to do the jobs for you. You just need that detail. So making sure that you know what you're paying out, who you're paying out, what softwares you've got, and what's already covered in your the stuff you already have. Find money to save that way. Making sure that you know who's doing what. Now, the job I do, I'm very fortunate. I'm out of class, but not everybody gets to be out of class to do the job I do. But it is quite an intense job. So if you want to do it properly, make sure you've got someone who has the time to do this and is given time to do this. But then it's all, I think digital strategy is all about having a vision. Having a vision of what you want and where you want to get to and how you're going to get there. So making sure that you've got more than one person doing it. We have a team of everybody that does it. So we have the CEO, we have some representation from most of our departments in there. We even have teachers and TAs and head teachers. So making sure that it's a team effort. Everybody is going towards the same vision. When you're deciding what you want to do, why is it you want to do that? And how does that feed into your vision? So what you don't want to do, and what we didn't do, was make this an iPad project. That's not what it is. It's not an iPad project or a Surface Pro project. It's a teaching project. It's a teaching and learning project. It's a digital project. So making sure that you know where you need to go and what you need to do, and just make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Do your research. Yeah, I don't know what else.
I think that's incredibly helpful. I mean, I think what's really interesting there is that I think you're saying it has to be a whole cultural buy-in process. It's not an iPad project. It is digital. You have a digital strategy. Every teacher has to buy into it. It's not something that some can buy into and others can't. There's no opt-out. It's a whole thing. Everybody has to be bought in. I think at least that's the message I got.
Yeah. If when we look at things and you say, there are lots of things, and there's lots of people of software. I mean, you know that I get contacted most days about somebody trying to sell me one software or another, or want me to do, and and it happens because lots of people have lots of softwares that are very, very good. But then we have to look at these things. Okay, is this going to support our vision? If not, why are we doing it? This is our end vision, to provide equity, to provide experiences, to provide engagement, and to have a good pedagogy behind that. So is it going to feed into that? And if it's not, don't do it. Don't be afraid to say no sometimes, or not yet.
And then there's another important point that you made, which is that in your trust, they're lucky to have somebody who, in your role, somebody whose job it is at a trust level to do that. And a lot of trusts don't have that. It sounds like you think that is important or even crucial. That you maybe won't be successful unless there's somebody whose job it is purely to do that.
You need someone to, I definitely need someone to guide it, or at least a group of people to guide it. But I think you need someone at the helm. I mean, I'm busy all the time. I'm constantly busy. I work, very long hours, and I work a lot, and I'm always doing this job. But I think you need someone. So I saw an advert the other day for, I think it was an assistant head teacher / digital lead of a trust. And I thought, well, that's a huge job. Assistant head teacher on its own is a massive job, but then trying to pair that up with a digital lead as well, it means we have either you have got the most fantastic person in the world that could do both those jobs, or you're looking for that person, or that you valued how much of an impact or how much work this could be. So I know people who do it who aren't full-time out of class like me, but they do have a few days a week, or they, I all I'd say is, I mean, we do a lot though, so they're very different.
And then I think there are still many people who don't believe that edtech, software devices in the classroom is necessary because it doesn't have a real impact on learning and outcomes. What evidence, what have you seen in your experience or Sarah that shows that yes, it really does make an impact, and you really should be looking very, very seriously at bringing devices into the classroom? Do you have hard evidence that it makes a difference?
Well, I mean, hard evidence would be, we have seen an increase in our SATs results year on year, those kind of things. We've seen an increase in attendance. Children are more likely to attend, and engagement. But I always say, if something's not working, most things will work. It doesn't matter what it is, most things will work. If done correctly, most things will work. I'll give you an example of a school we've been supporting. So in this school, I go into a year 6 classroom, and there's a child at the front. The chairs are in rows, and there's 3 rows. There's a child at the front who is the only child in the classroom wearing ear defenders. So in this classroom, I'm thinking, okay, so maybe this child needs more support than the other children. All the children have got a book in front of them. The teacher sat at the front reading the book, and he's going around the classroom saying, right, now it's your turn to read. Now your turn to read. Right, Freddie, you go and read that now. He gets to this child with the ear defenders on and says to the child, right, it's your turn to read. And the child stutters and he clearly doesn't want to do it. No, you've got to read. Bear in mind, we were with a gang of visitors in this classroom as well. So there's the added pressure of strangers in the room. And this poor child, he struggled so much to read it. And the teacher just kept going, go on, go on, go on. And I'm not criticising that teacher, because that's what we've grown up knowing, isn't it? That everybody should read and should be able to read in front of the class. And I'm not criticising that teacher at all. What I'm trying to say is there are other ways to do this. So in our classrooms, for example, ear defenders, fidget resources, weighted blankets are available to all the children, because there'll be lots of children in that classroom, whether diagnosed or not, who have neurodiverse needs or disability needs, or even just need something to play with while they're listening. That's absolutely fine. 2, they don't actually stand out. So if you've got someone with needs, they're not going to stand out in that classroom, because everybody can use what's already there. Using the digital technology means that not everybody knows what everybody else is doing. So all the work's we can provide personalised learning and an instant using digital notebooks. So if Freddie, for example, is working at year 1 level, nobody else knows, because it's on his personal device. It's the support that he needs is in that personal device for him. So we use things like audio recordings. We use video recordings. The teacher can do a quick screen record to show a quick example of how you should do that. Or I can see you struggling with that. Here's how I would do it. Feedback and things like that. It's
that differentiation in the classroom is so important, isn't it? And it's really interesting. I mean, obviously it's a big part of what we try and do with our software, but even without any specific software, just the fact that you can have different people doing different things when they're using devices without everybody knowing, it's quite powerful, isn't it? I mean, it's very hard to do that without a device in the classroom, because you've got to talk and say things, and so it is really that is very interesting. I mean, it's
we always think that technology will never replace an adult, but it can give you 30. It can give you 30 other adults in the classroom. Each device is another adult, because you can put audio on there, you can put a screen record on there, you can put video on there, and I think so. We do have facts and figures. We have hard evidence, but actually, anecdotally, when I go into a classroom, when I walk into a classroom and I see 100% of those children engaged in their learning, regardless of whether they have got SEMH needs, whether they're autistic, whether they've got ADHD, whether they're great at depth, or whether they're just working towards. Everybody's engaged.
Engagement, adaptation, differentiation. And of course, let's get back to AI, because of course AI, I don't know whether you've been trying this, obviously you've been trying AI stuff in your classroom, but whether you've actually put students in front of an AI tutor yet to see what impact that has. But we're on the cusp of that, aren't we? We're on the cusp of being, currently people have to go things like ChatGPT, but we're already seeing this technology being built into the operating system. So, probably in the next generation of operating system releases next year, whether you're on Microsoft or Google or Apple, you're probably going to have that kind of technology in the, schools don't have to buy anything. It's in the operating system, and it's going to be there ready for that student to use. So what are your views on virtual tutors, when you literally say to the AI, be a tutor, teach me about counting in tens? Have you tried that yet in the classroom? Do you think that's going to happen? How far away?
Well, there's a few things there. So I was looking at some computers with Microsoft earlier in the year, and they were showing me the new generation of computers which AI built in them, and from what I could see in that meeting, it got rid of the need for experts in certain fields. So I didn't need to be an expert in Excel or Word or PowerPoint, because I can just tell a computer to do that for me. So there's a whole generation of people who are experts in something that we could lose, and would need to change their career direction. However, so those computers are on the way. I've seen them. They look fantastic. I mean, they look amazing. We've tried personalized tutor software in the classroom, and it works. Do you know? I mean, we've had those kind of things for years. When you think about things like mathletics and things like that, I mean, more in a rudimentary and a more simple way, but we've had things like that for years. And I think the need will only, I think, as the infrastructure of school becomes more difficult and money becomes more tight, and I mean, the teacher crisis, I think moving to a platform will be inevitable. And I always think about, I always go back to the same vision of Star Trek. Now, in the first Star Trek film, when Spock's a child, there's a scene where Spock's a child, and they go into these little pods, and they just learn. And I think that's where we'll get. We'll still need adults for, you know, your social and emotional needs and things like that. But the education itself, I think it will transition to something like that. We still have it. I mean, we kind of have it already. We can go to Google, and I don't think I'd do anything these days without going to Google and just check. You know, I'm watching a film. Oh, who's that? Let me just Google who that is, because
I find it interesting that actually I started going to Chat GPT first rather than Google now quite often. It's like you know like some things Google is still better at, but the a lot of the time Chat GPT will do a better job of giving me the information I need faster. It's quite interesting. I know Google has now built their stuff literally into it's started to come up now, hasn't it?
Yeah.
But it's quite interesting. I mean, it's a bit of a side. It's quite interesting. Google makes their money by not giving you the answer and giving you a bunch of things to click on, right? That's what sponsored ads are. So if you start giving the people the answer right away, they're not going to click on anything. So it's very challenging for Google to work out what their strategy is here. Whereas ChatGPT, it's either free or you pay a premium like I do, but you just get your answer straight away. So, I mean, we're happy for our children to Google stuff on the whole, aren't we? So, I mean, we should be happy for them to go to starting asking these AI agents for answers and explanations. I mean, it's brilliant at explanations. You know, maths used to be a challenge, but it's getting much better at that as well, quite rapidly. So, explain to me why the answer to this equation was 5, and it will tell you. And you can say, explain it to me in words of a 5-year-old, or explain it to me. It's fantastic, isn't it? It's a complete game changer for education in so many different ways.
I think what we've got to do as educators is make sure that we are keeping up with this trend and making sure that we're a part of the conversation, rather than have somebody with more knowledge, or if we haven't got the knowledge or we don't understand how the technology works, someone else will make those decisions for us. And if we as as teachers or educators keep up with the trends and keep in the knowledge, we can start guiding that pathway for people. I mean, there are already platforms where you can go on and it'll tell you how, you know, it'll give you your maths, your English, science, and things like that. There isn't any knowledge is all around us now. We have knowledge is at our fingertips. We can grab knowledge wherever we need it. If we need to know something, we will go to an AI agent, we'll go to Google and we'll check it. What we don't need anymore is to build that knowledge and impart knowledge as much. What we need to be able to do is use that knowledge in an effective way that helps us learn. And that's what AI can help us do. But we also, I think, unless teachers start catching up with this trend or keeping up with it as best they can, what we're going to have is other people making those decisions for us.
And of course, what tends to happen is children from wealthier backgrounds have access to devices, and they start to do this stuff naturally. And it's the disadvantaged children who don't have access to these devices at home, and who don't, and then we get a new kind of digital divide, don't we, between the children who do actually learn how to do these things and those who just don't have. We might have talked about learning how to use Excel in the past, right? But these tools are so powerful. We've got to make sure that all children are able to understand and how to use them safely.
I mean, that's the biggest thing, isn't it? It's the safely part. So I'm very much of the ilk that we don't prevent children from doing things. We guide them how to do it and educate them how to do it properly. The thing is, if you stop someone, for example, if you stop someone going on, I don't know, can't think of anything. YouTube, for example. Right, well, you can't go on YouTube until you're 13 or 14. They're going to go onto YouTube at 13 and 14 and not have a clue how to use it, not have a clue what is safe and what isn't safe, because they've not had those skills. If we educate them how to use things safely and carefully and appropriately, this is where they'll do better with it, and this is what we need to be able to do. Instead of, we don't block things unnecessarily at the Star Academy.
I tend to agree more with you. I completely agree, and being able to experiment, because if you ban it, they're going to do it anyway, right? They're just going to find other ways to do it, and then you're not going to be aware of it, and then the risks are even greater, aren't so that I'm 100% along the idea that you teach them, you teach them about the risks and the dangers and all that kind of stuff. What do you? I mean, I don't know what the policy is in STAR, making children too young to have them. But what do you think about mobile phones in the classroom? Do you think they should be allowed or they shouldn't be allowed?
I mean, for us, it's absolutely not necessary. They are younger children. It's absolutely not necessary. They can bring them into school, but they must leave them in the office, because they have access to devices already. They already have access to devices, so there's no other reason to have them in the school whatsoever. But when it comes to secondary schools, if they haven't got devices, I actually don't see an issue with it. Again, it's all about teaching them how they can use it in the classroom. And this is about, it's very difficult because we've gone so far, and possibly too far to pull back now by saying in the first place that we ban them. And so have we gone too far with our secondary school children that we can't actually allow them to have it because we haven't taught them how to use it appropriately in the classroom?
Interesting, isn't it? I mean, I can see both arguments. Like, it can, if children aren't taught to be respectful and to, it can be a real problem, can't it?
I think hiding from the problem, banning things, is just hiding from the problem and not educating people on to use it. And that's a dangerous pathway because it can lead to people in their 20s or 30s or 40s who hide behind the keyboards and become keyboard warriors and think that anything's appropriate online and no one else can ever see them. And that's what we've got in this lost generation. Probably, in the generation where we didn't teach them how to use technology and we didn't teach them how to use mobile phones, that generation doesn't have the same boundaries that we'd want children to have that are growing up today. I mean, one of the things we do is all our devices the children can take home. So many of our schools are in the poorest parts of Kent. One of them is on the most deprived street in Kent, and they can take those devices home and share those devices with parents. And then we run parent sessions as well, so the parents can learn how to use those devices at home with their children. And I'm hopefully this year to do more with parents and hopefully teach them the technology skills more.
Do you have a parent contract in STAR? Do parents have to sign up to it? And how important is that to the success, particularly with, I think it can be particularly important for children from those more deprived backgrounds?
Yeah, I mean, we there is a contract in place, and the contract is just a basic, this is how we use it at home, this is what's allowed, this is what's not allowed, you will take care of it, and if you don't, you could be liable for the costs of it. They are checked when they return into school, they're all checked, and they all have a smooth wall equivalent, I can't remember what it's called, but at home, so they can't do any dodgy internet searches at home either. It doesn't matter what Wi-Fi you're on, you cannot do any dodgy searches, so which is really good. But it just means our parents, not only are they more engaged with the children's learning, they're actually learning some skills themselves as well that they might not have. So in one of our schools is in, like I said, a really deprived area with multi-generation unemployment and multi-generation poverty. But they're getting new skills, so hopefully those new skills will help support them. And
I assume their children are teaching the parents how to use these devices. They're in the classroom, they're taking it home and showing the parents how to do stuff, which is,
Now, when we tell people that kids take their devices home, people panic. Like, oh my God, how many did we go through? How many got sold? How many, we touch wood. I think we've had one breakage out of 2,500 at home.
Amazing. That's incredible, isn't it?
Past 3 years. Yeah. So we have absolutely no reason. Very occasionally children will forget to bring it in. Most days parents will just pop along with it, and if they don't, the children will work in a different way that day and upload their learning the next day.
That's right. I mean, it's amazing. I didn't know any of that. and that's just a great bit of advice and to everybody else, isn't it, out there? As to, I wonder how many other trusts are doing that, because you're right. Most people think they're all going to get damaged or stolen or sold on eBay or whatever, but you've had 1 in 2,500 broken.
In 3 years.
That's crazily positive, isn't it? After the effectiveness of that little initiative.
Because the children value it, and if the children value it, the parents are valuing it. I mean, we're in a different place than we were when people tried this in 2016 or 2018, and we don't have parents with any money, but they do see the value in what the device provides them, and I think that's the key, isn't it? Providing that value. Why are we doing this? Why is it important, and what difference will it make for your child? And if that value is there, people will respect it more.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. Right, so we've got 5 minutes left before I know you've got to leave. What advice would you give that that assistant head who's got to juggle his assistant head with being the digital lead for a secondary school? What bits of advice would you give that new digital lead? And he's going to be really struggling for time, but what would you say to him?
I think you need to know what your vision is as a trust. You need to know who those people are around you and who will support you, and have that team around you and have it as a team effort. You need knowledge. You need social media. I think you need social media because there are a lot of people doing what you do. You need something like self-promotion here, Matt Digital, which is a group of digital leads for Matt's. That is a group that we run. You need to join something like that because it's people in your job doing what you're doing.
And can anybody join your Matt Digital group? Is that open for any digital leader in a Matt to join, or
any Matt Digital lead? Well, any Matt leader, to be honest. If you could be the digital lead, it might be a CEO or COO, but any Matt leader can join Matt Digital. And we meet several times a year, virtually and in person. But it's having those people behind you, and then make sure you've got the knowledge yourself. Use the free training stuff on Google, the free training stuff on Microsoft, but join their programs as well. So I'm an MIEE, which is an Microsoft Innovative Education Expert, but Google have the same equivalent. I can't remember what they call them, but they do have the same equivalent. Join those communities because there'll be hundreds of people that will be able to support you in your journey as well. So I know the MIE is about 1,200 strong in the UK. There's a lot of people who are interested in digital technologies. They might not be the leader of the digital technologies, but they've got good interest and good knowledge, and it's a good community. So join one of the communities and share, get support. There are a lot of people out there to support you, and then get in touch with me because I will also support everyone.
Well, that's very good. Yeah, you're amazing. You are so generous with your time. I mean, no wonder you're so busy. You're far too generous with your time. But I mean, even with us as a vendor, you're always very generous. So thank you so much for that. But yeah, the only funny thing I was going to say, you didn't mention your showcase days. So have you do those as well, don't you? And anybody can come to those, can't they too? And that's a great way to learn about how you've been using technology at Stour. Is that right?
Yes, so we have 3 open days a year generally. Well, next year it will be 3 open days at different schools. This is a chance for you to come in and meet the leaders of the trust, meet the digital lead, and meet the leaders of the school, and then we'll talk you through our journey and what we actually did. But you'll then be able to go on a tour of the school and actually see all of this in practice. And you can't quite, I always find it really interesting. You can't quite understand it, and you can believe what I say, but until you see it in person, there are 100% of children in each class 100% engaged in their learning, and they're all learning different things, but the classroom's still working. I think it's really important. Yeah, come along to one of the days. The next one's Friday the 2nd of December. And follow me on LinkedIn because I'm sure I'll be posting all about it all over it.
Follow Toni on LinkedIn, and yeah, that's the easiest way to find out about these things, I guess. And obviously, presumably there's obvious ways you can, search for Stour showcase days and things like that, and that stuff will pop up online for you to get in touch. Well, Toni, thank you so much for your time today. I know how busy you are. I know it's actually still the summer break, isn't it? Are you back teaching? Are you back running things at the trust now? Are you still on your summer break?
No, I'm still on a summer break. It has been quite busy though. So what I've done for the past couple of days, I've just put my phone in do not disturb for a couple of days, just because it's been very busy. And then we're just going to take another week. We're going to take a few days away over the next weekend and next week, prepare for going back
Well, fantastic. Well, I mean, hopefully people will be watching this video soon, but it might be a year's time, and they'll be going, "Oh, they're talking about summer holidays," but it's currently the summer break, and I really appreciate you making time to come and give the wisdom of your amazing experience that's now to the community. So thank you so much, Toni.
No worries, thank you. And if you need anything, just give me a shout.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. All right. Bye for now.
Thank you. See you later.